Hi Steve, great to catch up with you again on the range yesterday and do some work on your game. Just a quick recap on the session and the key points from the session. Initially we looked at your takeaway here on the far left hand side, top and bottom. Takeaway at the start of the session was a little bit too wide. When we look at it from down the line, we can see that the club rolls underplaying quite quickly. As a result, we can find it difficult to both square the blade or close the blade to the path coming into impact. And also we're going to try and reroute that club, and we just steepen it quite a bit on the way down, and occasionally get it just like there, just a touch above plane, closing down too quickly, and the ball starts too far left, it tends to pull or cut depending on how severely you've come across the golf ball. Also, when viewed from face on, we see that takeaway, because it's a little bit too linear, staying on the line a little bit too long, the hands get outside the right thigh very early, so they travel quite a long way outwards, and unfortunately as they do that and they stay on the line, you can see that your head just drifts to the right a fraction, and you start to drift that centre off from where it was at setup, so the stability of your upper axis is compromised because you're trying to keep the club on the line just a little bit too long. It's like the old sort of low and slow takeaway. So what we suggested we do is we get the wrist hinging there earlier, but as we do that, because we want to close the face to the path to give us the draw that we're looking for, we're going to work the butt of the club down and bowl the left wrist a little bit during the takeaway, which is what we've got here on the bottom footage. You can see now that shaft working nicely up on plane. See the club nice and square to the arc. No independent rolling of the blade at that point. Much more on plane there. And when we look at it face on, okay, so it's a little bit manufactured during the drill, that's to be expected, but because the wrists are hinging a little bit earlier, coincide that with a little bit of arm swing when we get to this early part of the swing just past P2, and you can see now that you've not come off this line here, so your ability to maintain your stability in your upper axis has improved due to a better takeaway. So rather than keeping the club on the line, keeping the club head low to the ground for longer, making you drift off at the top ever so slightly, but it's still a little bit too much. What we've got now is an earlier setting of the golf club, so we want that wrist set in there early. We're going to bowl the left wrist because we want the club face closed slightly to the path as we're coming into the golf ball. From there now we're just going to make a nice centre turn, and you can see that there's just a little bit of a drift off at the end, but nothing near as substantial. I mean, up at P3 there you've not moved off at all. Top of the backswing, a little bit better position. And again, if we look at your backswing from down the line, it was only rolled under a little bit. It was a lot better than it was previously. And your position at the top of the backswing, albeit a tad long, wasn't too bad at all. We'll look at the same movement from down the line with the earlier set. Very similar position, club face a little bit more shut at the top, which is what we're looking for, so that we can maintain that throughout the downswing. The thing we then discussed was moving the lower body forward to regulate the release of the golf club. So when we look at this top right now on face on, a little bit of a movement back in the backswing. We then tend to stay behind that line a little bit too much, and if anything, the head just drifts back a fraction there as it's coming into impact. If we look at that position compared to this position, we have drifted back a little bit, but because we haven't moved off the ball as much, the subsequent effect on your position at P6 isn't quite as extreme. the circumference of the swing is a little bit shorter. You can see the red line here, the release point is a little bit nearer the ball here than here. So that means that now the radius of the swing is shorter coming into the golf ball, which is going to encourage a long term, just a touch more shaft lean impact. Because on the top footage the club head passes your hands earlier, the arc in the true swing tends to be a little bit shorter than what we see in the bottom footage. You can see your yellow line now, sort of illustrating the length of the arc. You hit out at the golf ball more, the length of the arc will increase. We've got a little bit better tilt, right leg straightening a little bit more, so much better extension coming through impact. And if we look at it from down the line, whenever we stop the hips moving forward, the club starts to move left. If we look at it just before impact, we've got the club slightly out in front of the hands, whereas here with a little bit more linear movement and an earlier setting of the wrist on the way back, we get that club dropping under plane a little bit more and attacking the ball more from the inside, hitting out. So we've got from the inside, hitting out, as opposed to slightly above plane, swinging left. So we swing left. On this one we hit out just a fraction more. It's not a lot, but there's definitely more of an inside approach on this one, into out, with a slightly open club face, open to target, close to path, whereas on this one we have a more down the line attack with a club face that's closing down too quickly. See the starting line of the two shots, completely different. So one of these balls was starting out to the right. Let's put a line on there. Slightly right. And this one a long way left. So the initial move away from the ball, we want the hands working less on the line, rather than trying to create this linear backswing where we keep the arms moving back in a little bit too much of a straight line and roll the club inside. So we stop me there now, face on. At P2. Same on this one. You can see we've got more step with less arm swing, as opposed to a lot of arm swing and not much set. So we're going to put that set in there early, bowl the left wrist as you do that, so the butt of the club is working down and under. And then the goal then is to make P6 look more like what we see here. The way we're going to do that is get the lower body moving forward, which allows us to maintain the angles for longer. And our ultimate goal is to try and get this left arm running more down the right thigh. To do that, we're going to have a little bit more linear movement in the downswing without the head drifting back. Keep working on things. If you do need any more information or you want to follow this up at all, give us a call or drop us an email, and I look forward to working with you again in the coming months. Well done.